time-honored way of adding a mechanical lock to a glued joint that's going to improve both its strength and durability. Basically, you use a dowel to go through a joint. The problem nowadays is most people will buy a dowel from a big box store because they're sized relatively close and they look good. Then when they try to assemble the joint, the dowel actually fails. This is because the grain direction does not go straight through the middle of the dowel. That's the advantage of making your own dowels. They won't be as pretty, but they will be a lot stronger, and they will be designed for the exact purpose of pegging a joint. Now, there are many different ways of making your own dowel. One of the more time-honored ones is using a dowel plate, which is basically a hardened steel plate that has various size holes drilled into it. You can easily make one of these on your own. I prefer to buy mine simply because they weren't that expensive, and I know the quality of the material and the hole diameter will be made better. Lie-Nielsen produces a dowel plate with the standard size dowels all the way through. But one of the advantages of the Lie-Nielsen plate is after about 2 millimeters in, it expands out. So it's easier to get the dowel all the way through. It doesn't get stuck. Now, I've been using my dowel plate in a custom-made box that I kind of stole the idea for the design from Lie-Nielsen hand tools. I saw their display model. This design is okay. If I had to redo it, instead of having a hollowed section, I would drill holes in the wood underneath the corresponding holes ever so slightly bigger, because what I found is as you hammer through these dowels, they kind of wander and your dowels aren't 100% straight. It isn't a big deal for whenever you're assembling joints, but cosmetically I just let them straight. Now, I've been using my plate as I got it from the factory. I have never sharpened it, and I really haven't had any much need to, but just as an experiment, I thought I'd try sharpening. And basically, you just head over to your water stones or any kind of stones you're using, and working from the highest grit down to the smallest, you can sharpen it up. I did find that it really polished up well. Now, is this going to make a big difference? In my experience, it was sharp enough from the factory that this didn't make much of a difference, but it looked a little better. It was shinier. Now, in order to end up with dowels with straight grain running all the way through, you have to start out with stock with straight grain all the way through. The easiest way I know to do that one is to split the wood. So what I will do is I will visually look at a piece of wood and find one that's fairly straight grained, and then I will resaw it to a width of approximately a little bit bigger than the end dowel product I would need to make. At which point I will start splitting out the stock in somewhat squares. The first time you use a chisel split, it's going to go at an angle. That determines the direction of the grain. Every consequential split will be fairly square to that new angle. This ends up with stock that is somewhat square, or square enough for this to work, and with straight grain running through. At which point you need to put a little bit of a point on the stock so that it will feed through the dowel plate easily. And then you just start at the biggest hole and work your way down. In the end, you will end up with a fairly straight grained dowel. It might not be perfectly straight going through, but it will work wonderfully in a peg joint. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please subscribe and tell your friends. And remember, it's always worth the effort to learn, create, and share with others. Y'all be safe and have fun.